Hi, I'm Kelly Pereira.
And I'm Steve Shaheen, and this is Sculpting Stone, a video series about stone sculpture that Kelly and I started in 2018. I've been at it for 2 decades now, and having trained traditionally in Italy, I've really seen the craft change over the years. In fact, a lot of people aren't doing it anymore, and a lot of the traditional hand techniques are being replaced by newer technologies such as CNC milling and robotics. There's a real urgency to document this before a lot of things are going to be lost, even within a span of a generation. And it's never really been documented in the past.
I find that the people that we meet, carvers, artisans, art historians, they are the most interesting thing to me. They all have different stories, different methods of carving, different little tricks. Often they'll tell us a story that I wish we had filmed so that we could share it with the world. These people aren't typically on social media. They don't usually have websites, and some of them are even in their 80s. And if it's not us recording it, their history and their information, then no one really is going to. Our goal is to create a digital resource for everyone who wants to learn more about stone sculpture from a truly global perspective. In this series, we'll be looking at stone sculpture from a variety of angles, including
visiting quarries to understand what stone is and where it comes from.
We'll be making how-to videos on the history and usage of different tools.
We'll be explaining everything from simple carving techniques to more advanced processes like pointing and enlargement.
We'll be visiting artist studios to understand different practices and materials people are using around the world.
We'll look at historical sculptures, discussing the artists who made them and exploring the techniques they used.
For those interested in learning to sculpt stone, we'll talk about places where you could take classes or to find guidance.
We'll be sitting down for interviews with artists, artisans, historians, geologists, toolmakers, and many others who have expertise in the field.
So far, this series has been self-funded. All of our film equipment has been purchased by us. We do all of the filming and we do all of the editing. As of right now, we only have one camera and are using one computer for all editing processes. With 2 people behind this project, this absolutely affects our production speed.
It's really important that we're using this vehicle, Patreon, as a way to fund this project because we don't want to put advertising in the way. We don't want to create paywalls where people have to pay just to access information. We want this information to be free and accessible to everybody, but in that case we are reliant on you, the viewer, people who feel inspired by this, who think they can learn something from this, to pitch in, whether it's just a small amount, a couple dollars a month, or whatever you can spare. It will all directly go into the production of this series and enabling it to bloom. So thank you for checking this out, for taking the time to listen to us today, for reading through our Patreon page. For more information, you can click on the YouTube links, and you can also check out our Instagram page where we will be posting up-and-coming tidbits.
And now we'll show you a few small clips so you get an idea of the kind of things that we'll produce.
McKeown Stone was started by my father. It was James McKeown and Sons, as it was called back then. He started it in 1950. He had been a stone cutter himself. My grandfather, John McKeown, had come down here from Drogheda to work in the quarries here around the turn of the century, around 1905. Up here on the top right-hand corner is John McKeown. That's my granddad there. Yeah. And yeah, so he's originally from Termonfeckin, near Drogheda, just north of Dublin. Every time that you touch blue limestone with a punch, or you bush hammer it, you have all the various honing stages. Every time you interact with it, it changes colour. So you have a palette of colour to work with within the one stone.
If you're good at a thing, do it. To say you'll be working in a shop or something and you really felt that you should be out on the road drawing the people that pass, you should be out on the road. And if you're very short of money, you just make it in some other way. I'd say that artists that don't follow their art, and you know, they say, oh, well, I have children and I have this and that. They're the crossest people because they're sort of, it's like they're telling themselves this isn't important, and it's desperately important. If you weren't that great, it's very important that you should be looking and seeing out there on what's happening and why. and asking the questions and using your eyes. You know.